stuff in the book.
And we are live here. Thank the Force for Star Wars Newsnet Live here on this Thursday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time. I am Tyler, joined by Luke and Tom. How are we doing tonight?
Doing great. Doing great. What's up, guys?
Doing amazing. Great.
By the way, I just saw that thumbnail like 10 seconds ago. That's hilarious.
Yes, I thought about uploading the actual like image of Starfighter for when we talk about it, but then Nate's thumbnail that he sent us with Andor Cassian just floating in the distance of the Emmys. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave that like as the only image for tonight to do with Starfighter. I'm just gonna leave that there. Like it deserves its time in the sun. Like
it should have been Kino Loy.
Well, you should have had it. You should have had Kino Loy in the water with like the floaties or something.
Like he's pulling him. He went back actually.
That's where he was in season 2.
What was the point? Let's talk about season 2. Kino Loy I was told through by multiple people that this man was going to be in season 2 of Andor, and he's nowhere to be found. And what the hell? I'm still pissed.
Tony Gilroy addressed that.
Pissed for the rest of my life. You know, that's why we didn't win most outstanding drama series. I say we, like I have anything to do with this. That's why, as just a fan. That's why Andor didn't win outstanding drama series, because they misled the public on Kino Loy, and that's the voters were raging against Star Wars because they were also upset that Kino was not there.
Tony Gilroy did address that. He felt like his ending in season 1 could not be topped. That's what he said.
I agree.
I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, he said that he didn't want to bring him back because he felt like it was just so perfect when we last saw him. He didn't state whether he lived or died, but he just thought that was such a great way for his character to kind of go out.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we don't know if he lived or died, but we do know that he can't swim. So
exactly.
We don't know if he lived or died. We just know that he becomes Supreme Leader Snoke. That's all we know. Because clearly, I recognize that voice. I know that voice anywhere. I have friends everywhere. But Kino Loy, you throw me in this water, I'll become more possible than you could I'd be more powerful than you could possibly imagine. It was all part of the plan. It was all part of Palpatine's grand plan, was to have Kino Loy on Narkina 5 specifically for that moment. Anyway, and that was when Kino was brought before Palpatine, and he's like, you know what? I see something in you. There's something.
You should go to a Maxine station right now.
Like, Maxine Station. Have you ever heard of a planet called Exegol? let me take you on a tour. What's going on? We'll take on the Halcyon, and we're gonna go on a little tour.
Oh my goodness!
The Exegol. What a great start to this evening. So before we dive into too much here, we obviously are going to talk about this fun image from Starfighter. Some of my thoughts that of how this production experience is going to be very different. We have Andor winning, multiple Emmys, 5 Emmy award-winning Andor. Obviously, most notably for best writing, and that was one we'll talk about extensively. And then, I hope that you guys have a couple that you can come up with here of some wish list items for the rest of 2025 for Star Wars. A little wish list here as we get into the last quarter of the year coming up soon. October is going to be here, before we know it. So, we're coming up close on the end of the year here. It's gonna fly by. But first, I have two things that I want to throw at you, and they are this one. It's Star Wars related, and one that's non-Star Wars related. I just want to talk about life for a moment. But I'm gonna lead with the Star Wars one. Is that acceptable to both of you?
Go for it.
Okay. So I have a student this year, super big in the Star Wars. Like but it's like it's a very new fandom for him. He has watched all the movies this year, like for the first time, and has started watching Clone Wars. And his goal is to watch all of Clone Wars and then watch all of Mando before, the movie comes out next May. Which he didn't even know there was a Star Wars movie coming out next May. I told him about this like a couple days ago, and he was so excited. He's like, "Oh, I gotta really make sure, but I have to finish
He
Clone
needs
Wars
to watch Rebels too.
too."
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And anyway, so he's super into it, and he asks me specifically. He says, "Mr. Bradshaw," he's like, "What are your favorite? What's your favorite Star Wars movie? Like your top two?" And I was like, "Okay, so episode 5," and I said episode 8, and he goes, and this is where my guy just won me over when he said, "Oh, episode 8 is my absolute favorite."
Wow.
And he starts, and I said, instant A+ right here. Like, this guy's instant A+. Oh, you forgot to tie your shoes and tripped over yourself, Pete. Doesn't matter, you said the episode 8 was your favorite. There we go. I mean, this, and then I said, "Oh, what are your favorite parts?" And he just nailed it. He's like, "Oh, when Rey was lifting the rocks, I just thought that was just an awesome scene." He goes, "I love the fact that Luke showed up at the end, and he didn't even have to attack anyone. He just dominated without even like fighting at all. It was so cool. He's so powerful." I'm thinking to myself, he gets it. He gets it. Yes. Yes. Oh,
it's great for a young person to, because I thought I liked the movie because I was in a place I was kind of older and wiser, and you deal with some of the things in your life that maybe have not gone the way you wanted to, or failures or regrets. And that kind of like made me really connect with Luke's character where he was when we see him. Mm-hmm. But like for a young person to have that, it's really cool.
And it was so fun. Anyway, so he goes, then he asked me to put more work on my plate, and I'm like, all right. He goes, "Mr. Bradshaw, can you start a Star Wars club at school?" And I'm like, I said, "If you can get at least 10, 15 people to, that are interested, then sure, like we'll figure out a way to have a Star Wars club after school, right?" And I'm thinking two things. One, like most kids, he's gonna forget that I told him this in the next 5 minutes. Or two, like there's no way he's getting 15 people. This was on Tuesday, this was yesterday. This was Wednesday, and today I have 5 students come up and say, "Coach, I can't wait for your Star Wars club after school." And I'm thinking, no, Mom, no, here it comes. Like, it's happening. But, I told him, if it works out, I'm like, I'll do it. I will do it. And so this might be something that's happening like on Wednesdays or Mondays or something after school. We'll see but we'll see. Like I told him, it needs 10, 15. So, and I said he needs to get, I want signatures. Like, I want proof. Like, I know his handwriting, so we'll get some proof. But when he said episode 8, he talked about like the throne room scene. He talked about Kylo Ren yelling, "Blow that hunk of chung out of the sky!" And then just the when he said Luke and then Rey lifting the rock, I said
absolute cinema.
When I said absolute, no, I'm like seriously trying to compose myself as a teacher. Like, oh yeah, but that's a great scene. Like, great, I give him fist pump, all that. What I really wanted to do was go, "Let's go," and lift him up on my shoulders and parade him around the school. "This is your champion." Like Lord Farquaad, "Behold your champion."
It's funny. We find
neglecting the rest of your class here. Oh, sorry. It is a sacrifice that I am willing to make. No, I'm sorry. Anyway, sorry.
It's rare to find, like, who'd have thought that the 3 of us were fans of that? There's so like many. I guess the fandom that doesn't like it is pretty loud about it, and I don't want to take away from anyone watching this that feels that way, because I understand people have told me why they haven't liked that movie, and I get it. I understand there are certain things that if it doesn't hit or connect with you. But it's funny that we all feel that way, and for you to find, like I said, more fans of it is pretty wild.
Well, honestly, like great nuanced takes from him. Those are like deeper than surface level, because I feel like for a very long time, I was a big Star Wars fan because like ships go fast and lightsabers are cool. But
Exactly.
for him to like, he gets it, and that's impressive, honestly.
It was fun, and because he's always asking me like about Star Wars, like what are flea markets or some antique places around Orlando that because apparently for his birthday he wanted, his mom said he could have 5 things off his Star Wars list. So he said, instead of 5 things off my Star Wars list, can we just go? He wants to go like to hop around different antique stores and like flea markets to see if he can find any vintage Star Wars things lying around. Like that's what he wants to find, some vintage stuff. So I was trying to tell him a few spots that he might want to write down and check out. But I was like, yes.
Speaking of vintage, just to go on a quick side note, I was at a flea market in Brooklyn this weekend because it was my daughter's birthday, and we did this. Like, she wanted to go, and she loves shopping, like, and things like that. I saw someone had now I'll just give you a hint. They had vintage toys, and they had really old toys. They had, and you guys might have to Google this. It was a radio controlled, like with a remote control, R2D2 from my brother got it on his birthday in 1980.
Oh my gosh.
So I remember that birthday so much because it was the coolest toy. I mean, now by today's standards, it's pretty basic. This guy had it in the box. The box was a little beat up, and I was so ready to buy it. It was like almost $300, but I don't know if I could.
You didn't do it. You couldn't do it.
I wanted to so bad, but
let me ask you a question, Tom. Was that a Tom decision, or was that a family, a certain family influencer that said maybe we shouldn't?
Yeah, the accounting department denied my request, but yeah, I mean, I remember him unboxing it and playing with it. Empire was out in the theaters at this moment. It was like I hadn't seen that thing in, what is it, 40 years, 45 years, 46 years. So it was like unbelievable. But anyway, sometimes you get like these awesome finds out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll upload a picture. I'll send you a picture of it. I saw it. It was pretty cool.
I don't know if I found exactly what you're talking about, but what I just looked up on eBay, it was 230. So
really? Yeah, do some searches.
Tom's suddenly spinning the entire thing. He's like he's going away. He's like, well, it's like
there is one that's like a newer one that you could give it commands. It was probably from like the early 2000s, but this one was like straight out of the 80s.
I want to give a droid commands. Or I don't know. It might be against my stance on droid rights. So
I actually, unfortunately, it looks like 1978 vintage Star Wars radio controlled R2D2.
Radio controlled.
You could tell by the guy on the box the era that it was in, or the kid on the box. But it was kind of clunky thing, but it was the coolest thing back then.
Cool.
There was also
little, like shrimpy kid with like the bolka, the bangs, and yeah.
But there was one in the early 2000s that I had, and I sold. I don't know why I did this. I was trying to sell some old stuff. That's right when my kids were born. I had to lose my man cave, kind of. That's my daughter's bedroom. So I sold a lot of memorabilia that I had, and I'm kind of bitter about it.
If anything, you deserve to buy it now to make up for
totally
what you lost. I mean, that's what happened. My greatest Star Wars find of all time is my Rebels cast, signed on the side of the road that I found, where I have the frame one signed on the side of the road. That's got to be the greatest find ever. That was the Star Wars gods looking out for me.
Yeah, that was like real.
The Mortis gods looking out for you.
Yes, but I know Luke's greatest Star Wars find as well.
My greatest find was the friends I've made along the way. That's what I was going to say.
I knew you were going to say that, yes. All right, so Andor just won a whole bunch of Emmys, and it was really exciting to see that Best Writing one come in. And we're big Andor fans, obviously, and I'm not trying to diminish its wins in outstanding like fantasy sci-fi costumes or production design, outstanding picture editing, visual effects, any of the others that they did win, right? But those are some categories that we're familiar with Star Wars performing strongly in. And, you know, especially shout out to like costumes and stuff. I thought the costume design, especially for the episode they put on, which was like episode 3 with the harvest episode, and that's the one where, you know, the wedding happens, and it's phenomenal costumes, everything. But for Andor to win, you know, best writing, absolutely hands down, well deserved. But that's my favorite episode in the series, you know, that it wins. And so I was so thrilled that, you know, for the one that, you know, they submitted Welcome to the Rebellion, and I was so excited that was, oh no, did I just go black on your screen, Luke?
No,
I
see. Been fine this whole time.
No, well, I can't see Tom or myself.
Oh, really?
And yes, this is true.
I see all of us.
I've experienced no interruptions.
I'm gonna try something. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. Sorry, I froze for a second. But for it to win, you know, for best writing for my favorite episode, I was so excited. And honestly, like we've talked about, so freaking well deserved, because this show, and I'm gonna throw it to Tom because it is, you know, I think we're just based on some things we were talking about before the show. I'm gonna throw it to you, Tom, but we've all talked about how much the writing in this show is just phenomenal and stands out. And to have, not that the cast isn't killer, because the cast is absolute killer, but this is one of those scripts where if you had like an average cast, it still would have been a really good show because the writing is just that good. It's one of those scripts that elevates everything around it. And I think that every single actor on this project was amazing. So the fact that, you know, we had this perfect blend of just top, you know, tier of performances mixed in with just the perfect script to go along with it. And that's why Andor is going to forever stand the test of time. But Tom, I'm going to throw it to you because I know you were also just completely thrilled for Andor winning, you know, best writing. And I can't, I can say that I don't really watch most of the other shows on here, so I can't really compare it, except for the fact that I do know unequivocally Andor should have won everything, even though I haven't watched anything. It's very different from the Oscars. I don't watch a lot of TV shows, but anyway, Tom, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, no, one of the things we were talking about is that this is the first time a Star Wars property has won the top prize in a major award show for writing. I believe, and you guys can fact check me if you see something, put it in the comments, but I think the last time it was nominated was for the best original screenplay for A New Hope. And it, of course, unfortunately losing to Annie Hall, which in its right was a great movie as well. But yeah, I think this is like huge for the Star Wars franchise. I mean, we all talk about it. We say so much about Andor. We've talked about it, you know, ad nauseum, I assume at this point. But everyone keeps saying the writing, and I love how. I cheered when it won. I love how Dan Gilroy called out Genevieve O'Reilly in his speech.
Mm-hmm.
And someone said on social media, it says now her speech is Emmy Award winning. So I thought that was really cool. And it definitely, she was definitely snubbed in the acting category. So that was kind of sad. But I mean, it performed very strongly. Like you said, it was winning awards and nominated in categories that Star Wars is usually not known for. So I know Mando was nominated season 1 and 2. I think we're nominated for best drama series, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. But this one's really special to win for writing, and obviously the other things were very well deserved too. But this is a standout, and like you said, I think it's going to be around. Andor is going to be, people are going to compare everything to it, unfortunately, but
right.
Going to be there is kind of like, I mean, they set a really high bar. Not everything, like we said, can be Andor. You know, that's kind of like the masterpiece theater of Star Wars, whereas some of the shows and movies are more like the Saturday morning fun stuff. So I think the universe is big enough for both, but this one's really special.
Luke, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I couldn't be happier. I mean, to have so much Star Wars that's been produced and is out there on Disney Plus and has, you know, hit your screens and stuff. And for this to finally come along and to win something that is like really weighty, it's recognized by the entire industry that it fits into. Um, it's extremely important that I think we've, you know, used this phrase and been cautious not to overuse it, but it kind of legitimizes like the standing of Star Wars in the current pop culture. It's obviously been completely revolutionary in filmmaking in the 70s and when it came back in the early 2000s. But for the TV show side of Star Wars, which is very relatively new, since 2019, there's been some hits, there's been some misses, some notable, you know, shows that have not been received very well. So for this to come from Star Wars, we don't have to get into that.
Shows that
things like you know,
there was a Star Wars show people had a problem with.
I mean,
you're gonna have to be.
You could even look at something like Kenobi, which was a very fun show, but it didn't look great at times, or it wasn't hitting on all cylinders every episode. But something like Andor,
trying to get me riled up, trying to get me fired up here by like reminding me of the visual quality of Kenobi right now.
It wasn't the best show that's ever been produced. Something like The Acolyte has come out and it was not well received by everyone. For this to come out and for it to just perform the way it did at this season, I think it means a lot for Star Wars. I think it means we'll see more shows that are not gonna feel like Andor or try to copy it, but it's gonna bring in people to the Lucasfilm umbrella that normally would have been like, you know, I don't think I have any business making a Star Wars project. I don't want to attach myself to that. Is it worth my time? No, you know what? Andor did well. I liked that. I think I could make something that show inspired me to go make something in Star Wars. So I think it's just going to do a lot for the future of Star Wars.
Agreed.
On a Star Wars level, sure, I agree. There's a lot of real world things going on with Disney right now and Disney properties, and that make me, let's just say I saw a, you know, Writers Guild protester, you know, at Disney that had a sign that said, "Did you even watch Andor?" in front of Disney property this week because of some things going on, which we can get into, but you know, it's interesting. It's almost like, did you watch your own show? And I hope that Lucasfilm, you know, as a company, does look at Andor, and over time, just the word of mouth that continues to go out about this show, the critical acclaim it's going to get, maybe people that are willing to come in and do a story, they're willing to say, like, let's take a chance on something and see what happens, because no one, that whether you like Andor or not, you can't deny, you know, certain qualities that it possesses that do have it like stand apart from other things. Like, it is very much, you know, it does feel just a little bit more elevated than some of the other Star Wars projects. It's so separate and so different, yet still can cohesively clearly fit within that universe. And the biggest joy that I've gotten from Andor, I think, over time, besides, you know, some of the things we've hit on, is just, and this is going to what Tom said about Genevieve O'Reilly's Mon Mothma speech, is just a character like Mon Mothma now being so integral and crucial and in your face, like, great character in Star Wars, that who would have, like Tom, when you saw him Return of the Jedi in, you know, 83, you know, who was thinking to themselves at that time, you know, that Mon Mothma character is going to be an all-time great at some point. And here we are, and that character, Mon Mothma's everywhere. I mean, that speech was all over the place this weekend on my timeline because of, you know, it winning the Emmy for that moment. And it was great. And I just got done reading, you know, I keep talking about Mask of Fear, and I'm reading Mon Mothma, and I'm just completely locked in to everything that she's doing in this book. And I can just hear Genevieve O'Reilly's voice in my head as I'm reading this. It, like, clearer than many other characters in Star Wars. And I could just see exactly how her face might, respond to different things, or, how she's feeling when she exits the room and what that exhale looks like, or when she turns on her political senator face, or when she's just trying to be Mon. And, it's just one of those things where she delivered such an amazing performance. And now this character is just so much, on the forefront of Star Wars. And I love how these Star Wars shows are able to do that, especially Andor was able to do that for, some of these characters. But I'm so happy about Andor. It will forever have a place in our hearts. And yes, we were joking before the show, guys, about, Tom, was saying that Andor has a, this was the first project that Star Wars has had. This won something for best writing. And it's the first time, it was really been nominated since A New Hope. And Luke and I were just both stunned because we vividly remember, the Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones had to have been nominated for a best writing at the Oscars or something, right? Not the Emmys, but the Oscars. How could Tom have forgotten the great script that was there and the great writing?
So you're saying Love Has Blinded you?
It won awards. Just I don't know if you count the Razzies.
It's probably true.
So, because I think Attack of the Clones did win a Razzie for best.
Tom is looking at and he has a picture. Tom has a picture of all.
She doesn't even recognize me, Jar Jar.
Tom has a picture of all the Emmys and he just looks at him. He's just like, "You're so beautiful."
For a senator, I mean.
For a senator, I mean.
There is charm in some of that, writing in its own right. There's a lot of charm there, but I want more than charm. I want Tony Gilroy, Dan Gilroy writing, in more Star Wars projects.
But Tom, you're asking us to be rational, and that is something that I know that I cannot do.
As a matter of fact, I was so happy when oh gosh, now I'm going to blank on his name. Was picked to write the screenplay for The Force Awakens. He unfortunately couldn't finish it, but he does get a writing credit. Oh, the guy he wrote Toy Story 3. What's his name? Geez, I gotta look it up. I'm blank. This is what happens when you get over 50.
Well, while you're looking that up, I will tell a very, very quick Toy Story 3 story. And
Michael Arndt. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I don't have to anymore.
He's a good writer.
No, but anyway, so Toy Story 3. This is fun. So we're watching this movie in theaters, of course. And, this is, at this time, we all believe the final Toy Story, movie is coming out. We're watching this. And, we're there. And my grandpa was going with us. It was my father, mother, sister, grandma, grandpa going to watch this. And, my grandfather's mind, this was the time where it was the beginning stages of when he was starting, have some problems, remembering things and whatnot. And but anyway, it was so funny. The movie ends, the toys had held hands around the fiery furnace, and you're sitting there, and people are wiping the tears from their eyes, hugging their neighbors, thinking about their toys they have in a kid. And my grandpa Don yells out in front of the whole thing, like, "And that's it? Wasn't this supposed to be something special?" It sucked. And he just, was this supposed to be something special? And then I hear it's like my grandma teacher or someone be like, "The toys held hands," or, someone, yeah. Wasn't that's it? That's supposed to be something special.
What is he proposing?
What is he proposing? It's someone in the front row. It's treason, then. Oh my gosh! So that was a good Toy Story 3 story. But moving on to projects that are currently in production. Let's put this bad boy up here. Now ignore Cassian floating off in the distance there with his Emmys. He will not be appearing. Believe it or not, this image, Cassian Andor will not be appearing in Starfighter. But here's my question for you guys. It's a very loaded question. So there's little parts. One, how excited were you that we're getting a picture from Shawn Levy, on set here of with Ryan Gosling. And can one of you look up the name of the young boy, like, actor? I'm blanking. It's like Flynn or something.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the name right now. But how excited were you that
Gray.
what?
Flynn Gray.
Flynn Gray. Okay. And how excited were you that we got this image right here? Because it created a little bit of a firestorm for a little bit on social media. People are like, oh my gosh, like, it's happening. And then secondly, do you think that this is going to be the norm for this production? Like, they're going to peel back the curtain and let us look and see, what's going on. Like, we got that first day on set photo of that production's underway, and then now we're getting this. Is this something we're going to get like every few weeks, maybe just a little nugget here or there, like every month? And it makes me just really, it's so weird that The Mandalorian Grogu was filming for weeks before they even confirmed it was filming. And I don't think we have like a single picture during the time of production, like from the set, nothing. And I feel like at this point now, more people know about this movie than know about the movie that comes out in 7 months, 246 days from now. Anyway, so what are your, I guess just kind of take that and run with it.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of Starfighter for a movie that doesn't come out for another almost 2 years. I'm happy about it, but it's kind of interesting that they're not really promoting Mandalorian Grogu that way. Obviously, I know it's, I think we talked about this before, how it's like a totally new, we're excited for this film because it, we're looking at a picture from a post Rise of Skywalker era in Star Wars, which we haven't seen yet. Obviously, it doesn't really show much, but everyone's trying to like look at it and get ideas about like the costumes and the, where are they? I heard people saying, thank God it's not another desert planet.
They said we're going the opposite.
Yeah, totally. So it's cool. It could also be Shawn Levy's personality to do stuff like this. And they're like, can I share this? And they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So
he's like, I'm not asking permission. They're just chilling out there, like in the ocean. He just takes the picture. He goes, "That's be fun."
Yeah, it's it's kind of interesting. It looks like Ryan Gosling's a little beat up, and so what happened to him? Even Flynn Gray's like costume looks kind of dirty, so it looks like they've seen some action. Yeah. I heard some people saying like, I wonder if it's going to be like where that spot in Star Wars Resistance, I guess, that they were racing, I guess
on the Colossus.
Yeah, but I mean that's far-fetched. They saw water and thought that, so I don't know, but yeah, I mean,
I had two theories. One we just talked about is right here is Starfighter: The Search for Kino Loy. And then I did tweet, this is my other theory, it's not a real theory, this is just me joking around on Twitter. I said the entire movie is just Starfighter. Actually, they will never fly. It is them submerging, looking for the lost ruins of Topeka City and trying to find ancient cloning technology that is still surviving somewhere in the depths of Camino. And that must be what is happening right now.
I'd buy that.
Flynn Gray is going to look over at Ryan Gosling. He's going to go, they swim now?
They swim now. They swim now. Yeah, and then somewhere down there, they're going to find the Kaminoans, and they're going to have like 50, they're going to have 500,000 Ryan Goslings already cloned with 1 million more on the way. Pretty soon. Yes. Luke, were you excited? Like, did you see this right when it came out, or like this image, or was this something you saw like much later in the day?
You're showing this to me now for the first time.
Really?
No, I'm actually kind of, yes. I haven't been up on my social media game lately. So this is super exciting. And as you were mentioning before, I really hope that this is how this season goes of making this movie, that every couple weeks, as often as I can get it, honestly, I would love to see behind the curtain and see how this is being made, like the smiles on the people behind the camera. I think that's what really gets me invested in movies and in shows, is when I can see the interviews with the people that have worked on it or have starred in it, and they can talk about how much fun they had making the show that you have loved.
Mhm.
That just is like another exponential component for me that like drives my happiness, drives my enjoyment, is when I can see that, Ryan Gosling is having a lot of fun being in Star Wars, or Flynn Gray is gonna, cut his teeth on Star Wars and like launch his career, hopefully. Like, I know that maybe hasn't happened with many other
Mhm.
child Star Wars actors, but like I hope it does for him. I hope it's awesome. So this has me super excited. Again, I can also echo that it is a little strange, just a little, that we're getting so much Starfighter news content, and it's not the next movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
Like
So
just sit here
it's got
and
me a little
think
mixed up.
we have the full cast for Starfighter. We don't know any of the cast for like we know Pedro's going to be voicing Mando. We think that he's going to be Din Djarin. We know that we have Barry Allen or Jeremy. I always say Barry Allen. Jeremy Allen White's voicing Rhoda the Hutt. We have
What in the
Sigourney
world?
Weaver that's going to
Is
be
that
in there.
confirmed though with Jeremy Allen White? I know, like,
Pretty sure that it's been like unconfirmed, confirmed, if that makes any
Discussing
sense. Like
film, like tweeted it.
pretty much
yeah.
every place is ran with that for the most part. I think there was actually somewhere I read something about because he's gonna be Bruce Springsteen in the Springsteen
Oh,
biopic,
true.
and I think I read something about how oh yeah, he's been the bear, yada yada yada, and then he's also voicing a Star Wars character in the Mandalorian and Grogu. Like I think I read something like that, so I don't know, it feels confirmed to me. But obviously those are integral people in the cast, but but from what we've heard is maybe Sigourney Weaver's role might not be like a huge role, like a smaller role, and then I doubt Rhoda the Hutt's going to be a focal point of the movie. So who are some of the other people that are going to come in? Like who are the main villains here? Like what's that going to look like? We don't know anything about Mando and Grogu yet, other than this is just some sort of mission that they're going on. But again, we have no idea what the plot or synopsis of it is, but we already know the plot and synopsis to some degree of Starfighter. We know the exact same amount of what's going to happen in Starfighter, I feel like, that we know of Mando and Grogu. We have more sets from we have more photos from the set and from production than we pretty much ever got from Mando and Grogu. It's so weird that people just, I don't even think know that The Mandalorian is a movie that's actually happening. Like I truly don't understand what the point of just being so secretive about everything is. Like with Starfighter, they dropped that monster cast day one. I don't know if it's them just trying to like, hey, we have our first big movie. Maybe that's what it is. It's just this is like the real big movie premiere of Star Wars, because this is like the big boy movie, and Mando and Grogu, this is a TV show movie, but this is going to be the premiere one that we know needs to hit and hit big for us. But again, it's still weird. Like it's so odd, and we know we're not going to get that Mando trailer and for another month probably, if not 2 months, from now. And I just genuinely am curious, like what's the harm in dropping anything for this stuff? Like I really don't know what's the harm. Like they're generating this buzz about Starfighter without doing anything at all. Like they're not doing anything. They've just dropped a photo, and at least it's something. We're here talking about a picture, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I agree. I don't, and this has been something that Tyler, you and I have talked about for a very long time, like since 2019 or 2020, 2021. We've been talking Star Wars for a long time, and so it's just been in this conversation that's been going for far too long of like, why won't they show anything? I feel like it'll I remember the Book of Boba Fett was coming up, and it was like the beginning of December, or like it was like the mid-November, and it's like there has been nothing for this show, and it's like the drop date is December 29th, and so it's been a recurring thing where they kind of are like, Star Wars markets itself, right? Like we don't need to do much, and
maybe Yoda is gonna bring in people.
The Star Wars markets itself bull crap is done. Like that bull
It's
crap is
done.
over.
Those
Like
days are over.
it died with Solo,
Yep.
and because most of the shows are, and because of streaming, a lot of are just not very culturally relevant. Like outside of, you have Andor, which is culturally relevant because of the word of mouth it's going to get, the prestige it gets from its win, and just the kind of show it is. It's like prestige TV. And you have Mando and Grogu, which is a global phenomenon, and hence why it's getting a movie. But when you take into account how many shows Star Wars has had, and just how they just don't generate numbers really. Like Andor, is great as it is, not a lot of people watched it for a while, like in that first season. And so you would think that, oh, Star Wars marketing, we have a movie coming out next May in 246 days. We might want to actually, put a picture out from something. Like it's just odd that the only things that have ever come out have been behind paywalls, and like Celebration or D23. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't have hurt them. Like they're building, for instance, like they don't even have to do this. Just put a picture of, the suit, someone in the suit holding Grogu, and you can have the volume behind them, and it's just, you're not revealing anything. It's just there's Dave there. They got that, or how much they've talked about the AT-ATs or whatever that they built
Yes.
from the set. And what if like they build an actual one for the movie? Like why can't you just have a photo of, not necessarily of it, because maybe you don't want anyone to see, anything until the thing, or just have a photo of the construction of the ATA, like just little things that don't give away any plot. They don't give away anything from the story. They're not going to take away from the viewer experience, but they are, integral to getting people excited, about Star Wars. And these things happen. Like this is just what needs to happen in today's day and age, like, in terms of movies. And given where Star Wars is at, like you're not gonna just suddenly say, oh, Star Wars movie's coming out, and have the trust of every single person out there. Like that's just not going to happen anymore. Like Star Wars has to earn back some of that trust in regards to films. And that's coming from someone who loves episodes 7 and 8 tremendously. And I think Rogue One's great, and I love Solo. Like I love 4, almost all of the things movies that have come out, I really enjoy. But just looking on like a macro level here, they gotta earn the trust of a lot of fans back. And the best way to do that is to kind of maybe open it up a little bit, let other people in, and maybe you're gonna bring in some new people along the way that might not otherwise know about this Star Wars project coming out.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think one of the things, I know people talk about Marvel fatigue, and being inundated with shows and movies and things, and I think there's some of that with Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Andor tremendously was a tremendous help, but I feel like one of the major problems is they keep, and I know for the casual fans, because I've talked to people that like are casual fans, and just the flipping back and forth in the timeline is really confusing to people.
Okay.
We're going to have Mandalorian next year, which is going to be the Return of the Jedi, New Republic timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Then we jump to ahead of Rise of Skywalker the following year. I think, I don't know. I think at some point it's going to bite them. And it's hard because it's like, I'm interested in all of those eras, obviously. But if they could have just stayed with one for a while, I think it would have been beneficial. Maybe keep Mandalorian Grogu, and I hope I'm eating my words because I want that movie to be great. But maybe keep that as a show and just do season 4, even if it's a shorter season. Just have the same story, so people like, okay, this is the Mandalorian show, so I can. But to have the movies come out,
I think they just felt like they had to get a movie out. Like they just had to find a way to get a movie out. And I also wonder if this could be a Kathleen thing where she knew at one point she's like planning her exit, right? And there's this transition period. And if she were to she wants to leave Lucasfilm maybe end of 2025, right? Like she's leaving this year, and maybe that's been the plan for a while. And she didn't want her legacy maybe to be, I left, as I stepped down from the president of Lucasfilm, without being able to at least bring another Star Wars movie, on the out in theaters before I was able to leave, like before I left. and that was kind of looming. But obviously, because we know she's going to be a producer, she's like an executive producer for Starfighter. Like, we know this, and we know she's probably going to be a producer, executive producer for some other Star Wars films that are going to come out after Starfighter. But there's a big difference between maybe just being, using your connections, being an executive producer on a movie, when you're no longer president of Lucasfilm, versus now she's like, hey, I can at least kind of go out maybe on a high here of, we're leaving this year. I got this movie off the ground. It's done. And then, now we have, Starfighter's fully in production. And this maybe feels like a better, like a cleaner, break. It's like, we got 2 movies going in my last little time here. It was like my lasting legacy as I kind of helped steer Star Wars fully into the next phase of its existence before I was able to leave. I wonder if that might be something to do with Mando, like season 4, because they were bleeding. Like, they needed a movie so badly because we were supposed to have one 2-3 years ago at this point, and it's fallen. Project after project has fallen through. But now I think we're entering into a more stable time. Of course, if something happens and these things bomb, then we could be right back here again going, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, like, what is going on? But again, I don't think that's going to happen.
I think sometimes I'm more curious. Oh, go ahead, Luke.
Yeah. With her last project, like her last movie would have been The Rise of Skywalker, which I love, but not a popular opinion. And so I think it is going to go well. That's my prediction, is like Mandalorian and Grogu is going to be better than people think. It's going to surprise people. And I think Starfighter is going to be as good as it seems like it's going to be. And so her last little footprint here, her last little stamp is going to be really strong that these last 2 movies come out. And I think it's just going to do a lot of goodwill for anyone who has some kind of neutral or poor opinion of Kathleen Kennedy is going to see this last hurrah and be like, okay, wow, like, I think I was wrong about, hating her for this or that. Like,
well, I'm going to have to disagree with you there, Luke. It is, I think that we will be able to win an argument maybe with someone who is going to hate on Kathleen no matter what, and be able to win that argument, like, hey, she was able to launch us into the next era of Star Wars. But winning an argument and getting someone to admit that they are wrong in that argument, or maybe not even necessarily 100% wrong, but even slightly misguided, it's a bit of a different story. And we're talking about the Star Wars hate on Kathleen Kennedy YouTube verse out there, and they are relentless.
The legend sloppers.
Oh man! So I saw actually.
That's a good comment there. Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
If they can do that, if they can have a thread that ties it together, that would be really strong for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. I saw a tweet today that said it was like, mentally I've never left here, and it was a gif of Grogu stopping the fire for Bo-Katan and Din Djarin in like the season finale of The Mandalorian. And when I tell you that I was enraged when I saw that photo, I was enraged, right? I was very upset, because the fact that those 3 never got closure like in that show, after the 3 of them spent the entire season together, and then they never had like a closing moment for the 3 of them. And we know, based off what Katie Sackhoff was saying, that she's not even going to be in this. We've seen the last of Katie Sackhoff in Star Wars as Bo-Katan. And honestly, if we have, like, great arc for her overall, like in her character, but the fact that we may never have like a final like moment, because I always thought that when this movie got announced, that at least we would have some closure to those 3 characters. And I'm thinking we're not going to. I think that we're just never going to happen. And when I tell you that, that makes me more upset right now than about anything else in Star Wars, because I was full on shipping the 2 of them. But at the very least, you could at least have a moment where they're like, hey, goodbye. Like, see you later, after we spent this entire time where I took you into my family, you took me into yours. We conquered and retook like the home world of your home world, the home world of my ancestors together, and we reclaimed Mandalore. We were in all of these scraps together. We were saved by the child that we mutually adore and wanted to protect. I swore to serve you until the end of my days, essentially. And I know that you were looking longingly into the visor of my helmet, but
Visor.
God forbid we have a moment at the end where they're just at least be like, I'll see you later. And that's it made me so mad. As you can see, I've processed it well.
Season 3 of Mando, the best season? Thanks for confirming, Tyler.
Season 3 of Mando, flawless, heard here first. Star Wars.
General Bombardier carried.
Okay, the problem with that episode is not so much the episode itself, but the placement of that episode. Was it the episode out of 8? It was 7 or so, or 6.
I think it was
6.
7.
I think it was 6.
6 or 7. Okay,
that's an episode 2. If they're going to include it. I don't know what they were doing there, and I have my thoughts. There were things I liked about season 3. I love that episode. One of the we were talking, RG 2088 was talking about the Shadow Council. I love that episode. I think it was the second to the last one too, when they or maybe I'm contradicting myself. Was that the same episode? But I like when they introduced the Shadow Council and
right. At the very end of the season,
and that was really cool because that actually connected with. What did you say, Tyler?
Yeah, at the very end of the season.
Just at the very end of the season.
Yeah.
Then I had to spend the whole episode roaming Coruscant with Dr. Pershing and learning that the New Republic sucks, which, okay, great, thank you. And then we're not going to do anything with the New Republic again. We just know that they're a bunch of losers. Guess what? I already knew they were a bunch of losers, okay? Clearly they allowed the First Order to rise up, and wipe them out in about 10 seconds because, they were a bunch of wimps that they couldn't learn their lessons from the first Empire. And then I go and watch Ahsoka season 1, and I'm like, yeah, these dweebs are the worst. Come on, they're over here doing nonsense. And I saw even Kazuda Xiono's father sucks, and I knew that from Resistance because I watched that show. And he's the worst. And I need a whole episode of them roaming the streets of Coruscant and doing things with the Imperial, restoration program or whatever, just for him to get the mind flare. It was interesting. I'm like, I can't wait to see where this is going and what they're gonna do with all this. No, doesn't matter. We're just gonna make sure we stream in Jack Black and Lizzo for a minute and go on this random side quest before we really launch forward. And guess what? We reclaimed Mandalore.
And pejorative term.
We reclaimed Mandalore in 20 seconds. It was amazing.
Count Dooku was a visionary.
He was a political idealist and not a murderer.
I could have spent another episode roaming Coruscant. To see it in the New Republic era was really cool, but the execution of what, like you said, it was poorly done. I will totally give you that. The whole arc for season 3, I felt like it was so uneven, with how it was done, and it's just so weird. So I feel like they wrapped a lot of stuff up by the second or third episode. So then you just had the rest of it to go on, and there were just some. I would say strange choices in execution in that.
What I've said all along, they knew where they wanted to start, they knew where they wanted to end, and they just kind of forgot about everything else along the way. They're like, which season 2, they very much knew where they wanted to start and end, and it was phenomenal. But they were like, we're going to create a killer journey along the way that cohesively makes sense. And I felt like season 3, after the first 2 episodes, I never understood the direction of the season. It was just all over the place and weirdly disjointed until I was like, I guess we're going to end up on Mandalore at the end for a final confrontation with Moff Gideon. That never really happened because he just kind of got toasted, and that's fine. But the best part of season 3 for me, I enjoyed the very first episode, and then I really had a lot of fun with like the Praetorian guards that showed up, and that was really cool. Like that was really fun as a Last Jedi fan to see like another version,
Yeah.
like those characters, those troopers, like kind of come in and be awesome. And then I always go back to when they're literally trying to kill Grogu and like hit him with their stuff, and he's just jumping around laughing. Oh, you know that Yoda had young Grogu on like that same drugs that he was popping on Dagobah. Like if he is, that Grogu was high on that fly. If he's running around about to get killed, just laughing like Yoda might have been in the Clone Wars, or when he's using a stick on R2D2. Mine.
I think you're forgetting about Axel Woves, who got oddly fleshed out and got a lot of screen time.
I forgot I was supposed to care about this guy, and suddenly he's the leader of a Mandalorian mercenary camp.
He's like
and
the
then he
leader.
turns corner so fast at the end and then we just have him scream for Mandalore. Like that's and I like a lot of seasons. It was one of those. It was like kind of like I want to say it was a lot like Rise of Skywalker to me, where I can pick out probably a dozen things that I really liked, but the problem is none of them really connected to the other the way I would have liked them to. I think that's probably what it comes down to.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, like the Darksaber arc was like, she just, just gave
it. Just destroyed, really, like.
And then it gets destroyed.
Yeah, that's crazy. To go through all that and it's just destroyed.
When I saw that in season 1, at the end of season 1, that was so epic.
Mm-hmm.
That Moff Gideon.
I hate it. And it was just, we're just going to destroy it. Which, if they're going to destroy it, fine. But it happens so nonchalantly in the show. Like, I didn't even feel anything other than like emptiness. Like that's what I felt. Because I was empty. And because I was thinking that if the Darksaber was going to ever be destroyed, it'd be for 2 reasons. One, the villain is just that bad and does that, and it's going to make me feel hopeless for our characters at that moment. And it's almost like, the symbol of Mandalore has finally been, it's destroyed, and you're feeling like no hope. Like there's no way we can reclaim the planet. Our symbol of unity has been destroyed. What are we going to do? Or it would have been like hey, we no longer, we've moved on beyond this. But because I felt like, the entire middle part of the season never really got me to that point where I felt that was justified. When that happened, it just felt like, oh, we just threw that in there for the sake of throwing that in there. Empty. I felt empty. And I don't want to feel empty ever.
It's a fair point. There were many more powerful ways to have that event happen, and remind me, it wasn't like an accident, was it? It was Moff Gideon like purposely crushing it with his like mechanically enhanced hand, or was it like some kind of accident during the fight?
What's the worst thing is I can't even remember. That's how meaningless it is. Like the Darksaber should
if it was on purpose or not.
That should be imprinted in my brain. That should be something I should never forget.
Tar Vizsla is rolling in his grave.
Exactly.
Oh, give me a break. Just give me a break. And then the fact, just frustrating. And I love the Mandalorian, but really, I hope that the movie just kind of goes back to the season like 1 and 2 formula, and in terms of how what the vibes are, how it feels, just the aesthetic of the show, and I hope that the movie can kind of channel some of that. Obviously, a movie and TV show are very different. And I hope this isn't just a case of like we just spliced up a bunch of episodes together and threw you one out, and it feels like a movie. But because season 3 to me, and a lot of times, just doesn't even feel like the same show. Like it really doesn't. Yeah. And I never bought into the argument. A lot of people were trying to make this argument, and that the Mandalorian could be any Mandalorian, or could just be the Mandalorians, when it felt like Bo-Katan was kind of taking over. There's a lot of other Mandalorians they were giving spotlight to, and like, and it doesn't, Din Djarin doesn't have to be the face of the Mandalorian. And I could not have been more upset with, one, people being okay with that take, but two, like that genuinely felt like the direction of the show at that point. And that just never, I've never sat right with that, sits right with me. Because to me, like, when I think of the Mandalorian, I think of our Din Djarin, and I think of Grogu being with him, and the fact that, I feel like they pivot away from that. I'm hoping that the movie just kind of goes back to that classic adventure, which doesn't mean Bo-Katan can't show up. Like, I'm totally down for Bo-Katan and other Mandos like Boba Fett to be present. I want them to. I just don't want them to feel like it's their movie and not his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
This comic, I love this comment. I think Grogu will reveal the Darksaber eventually, or at least I hope that's what they're going for.
His name is Din Grogu.
I still want that. Like, I still want the dark. Yeah, I would love that Darksaber being brought back, and then somehow I always, it's just one of those things. Maybe it's my own personal, fan theoryism that, I wanted more of, but I just felt like you hinted at a connection between Grogu and the Mythosaur in the early parts of that season. And I just kept thinking that was going to be something that would happen to help them reclaim their planet. Like, this is like the ancient being that's thought to be a myth at this point and doesn't exist, or doesn't exist at all anymore. And I would have thought that, we're reclaiming Mandalore, and you have the Darksaber, and you bring you've brought the Mythosaur into the show. I just would have thought that would have been something that would pay off at the end. Right. And then it just seems like it's something that never is going to be brought up again. I thought that would, maybe that something like that'll happen in the movie, but it seems like we have no reason to go to Mandalore in the movie. Right. It seems like that thing has been established and done. So it's just, I'm still frustrated by that, because but here, let me ask you guys this: is that a situation where maybe I'm justified and feeling a little frustrated, or is that a example of, I just need to stop playing with my toys in the sandbox, like, for a while, and back off?
I think in this case it's justified, because I feel I totally understand what you're saying, and I kind of agree. Not that because I agree it makes it like, but yeah, I mean, I'm very kind to a lot of stuff that they do.
Same. We both are, yeah.
And I feel like I feel like your opinions are valid. I mean, not that even people that disagree obviously are valid as well, but it just seemed like low-hanging fruit, especially with the Mythosaur. But as we pass the 1 hour mark, I don't know if we need to stay back on track. It's becoming a Mandalorian season 3. Like,
no, that's fine. That's fine.
It's all Star Wars.
We'll do our wish list next week. Next week's going to be our end of 2025 wish list, and a look at Rebuild the Galaxy Part 2. Like, we can just do that next week and have some fun.
Everyone talks about Mon Mothma and her arc and how great Admiral Akbar is, but you know who needs a show? General Crix Madine.
It's his turn.
Plot one of that whole, like, those cameos in Return of the Jedi. He's being forgotten. He's
the only one. It's his turn. I will say, like, he pops up in a couple books, like, randomly. And really? I'll be honest, he kind of annoys me in those. And I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you're the sci-fi character here. I did have his action figure growing up. And his action figure came with that little, like, the stick, like, the little thing he's holding in there. And it came with that. And I used to pretend like that he was, and this is really sad, I used to pretend that he was like almost force sensitive, but his lightsaber wouldn't ignite all the way. Like, he had this like thing so they gave him like a little toy, and so like he would go and I would play with my action figures, and like there'd be the Jedi fighting, and I have him come, and then I would always just have them be like, no, you're not allowed to come by, you have to stay back, and then guard this area over here with this little, and he would always get captured or killed, like, every time, because he would be like, I got nothing, and he just I come in with my Darth Maul and like double impale him.
You made General Madine even sadder, if that's possible.
I think the show should be about how he found the carpet to paste onto his chin for his beard, because it's very clearly like poorly taped on to his face.
And I would love like the in-canon story to actually be he's trying to impress the Rebel Alliance by having a beard, so he does actually go find
he's trying
some
to
sort of carpet or
impress Senator
something to
Pomlo.
put it on. He's trying to impress Mon Mothma. Perrin is out of the picture at this point.
Oh,
and so he's like, now is my time to slide into the Mon Mothma DMs here. You know, at those Rebel Alliance meetings. He's super hyped.
Gonna have to get past General Dodonna though.
General Dodonna, another icon. Absolutely fantastic. Any other fun things you guys want to share? How are we doing?
I do have one. I was watching your TikTok about the Mask of Fear when you finished it. It was just, you know, for the entire apartment to hear, and Madison's listening in, and she goes, "You know what? I'm with Tyler. I don't really like Saw Gerrera that much." And I went, "What?" And so then we actually talked for like 20 minutes about Saw Gerrera, just me and my wife.
Yeah, I've never been a big Saw Gerrera guy, and I've felt this way for a while. And I don't know, have we talked about that really much before? I can't remember.
Not you and I, no.
Okay, I don't remember who I was talking about. I've said it. I remember when Forrest Whitaker does a great job as Saw. Like, I'm not trying to take anything away from like that performance, and very iconic. I've just never loved Saw Gerrera. And then Star Wars Internet published the editorial, is like several weeks back now at this point, about does Star Wars have a Saw Gerrera problem? And I've kind of been saying yes. Like I'm in like that yes camp. I feel like he's a character that has just been like overused, and we've like oversaturated at this point where he's showing up in all these books. He's in the Clone Wars, arc. He pops up in Bad Batch. He's in Rebels. And he's, obviously in Rogue One. He plays a role in Andor, but none of the scenes really ever paid off with him in Andor. I felt like that was, to me, the weakest part of the show was everything with Saw. There's never really a moment that if you erase everything with Saw Gerrera, it doesn't really change my opinion of any of the other characters in the show. There's the moment in season 1 where Saw and Luthen are having their back and forth, and I enjoyed watching the back and forth between them and seeing how Luthen handles the different rebel cells. And then you have the Krieger stuff and Saw wanting in on that. But again, Luthen's Luthen. Without that, I still would have been like, Luthen's the man, and it wouldn't have changed anything. Like, Saw didn't really impact anything in the show outside of like we had to include him in order to give us a launching pad to Rogue One, because we know that they're going to, the Cassian's going to try to find him. But outside of that, in the show itself, it just felt like we were searching for reasons for him to be there. And then I just finished Mask of Fear with Saw, of course, and I think there'll probably be even more Saw Gerrera in the next couple of books. So I'm kind of at the point where, hey, I know how this guy's story ends. I know he's kind of a radical rebel terrorist. Okay, I get it. Good.
Well, I have to say, there is something I do have to disagree about. I was not a big fan of him until Andor. And I will watch that scene again and again of him and Luthen. And the way it was shot was
30 men plus Krieger.
Yeah. I just love, I'll watch it again and again, just him saying they lost all of them. That gives me chills, because
it's great.
The best part about that scene is that it tells me the state of the rebellion at that point.
Okay.
And I absolutely love that. But again, I'm not a huge fan of the character, but I love him in Andor. In season 2, with the just the way he treated what's his name, Willman.
Yeah,
Willman. We're the Rhino kid.
I don't know. There's something about it. It reminds me, because
weird. To me, it's weird. I'm like, what is the point of him being in season 2 at all?
I think that, especially that last scene of season 2, they wanted to show, it was kind of like that scene from Rebels.
Right, where he's gone.
You
have no idea where I am.
They're trying to show just his descent into madness. And
Mhm.
As a big fan, one of my favorite movies of all time is Apocalypse Now.
Oh,
And there was something about his Saw Gerrera that reminds me of Kurtz, Marlon Brando's character, and just and that's based on Heart of Darkness, the novel. It's loosely based on that, and just this descent into madness, and how the absurdity of war, and
Yeah.
this descent into madness. Now, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
throw all the stuff into it, but that's how I really connected. But outside of Andor, I wasn't a huge fan. Even in Rogue
Mhm.
One, he had a purpose, I think, in the movie.
Mhm.
But I feel like it was more realized in Andor. But so I agree outside of
Yeah.
Andor. I think in Andor, I thought that he was used perfectly.
I think I'm at the other end of the
Rogue One
spectrum.
too. Yeah, don't need him, but go ahead, Luke.
I think I'm at the other end of the spectrum. I do think I quite like Saw Gerrera, and not because it's like he's perfect, he's so well written, he's so needed. He is just compelling. How much passion and zeal, whatever iteration of the character brings, that's just what I'm drawn to, as someone who is like, who could not be more bought into his own cause. And so whenever I see that passion in his eyes of like, I am the only one with clarity of purpose, he's wrong. Like, there's other people with clarity of purpose here, but
Right.
like, he really is bought in. And
Right.
oftentimes, if you watch Rebels, especially Rebels, he's like he's like on the right track, and he's further along the road than anyone else has gotten. Like, he knows that there's some Death Star type of thing happening, and no one else has a clue that the Death Star is being built. And he's like putting these pieces together. So like, there's times when I'm like really rooting for Saw Gerrera, because
Right.
he's ahead of the game. So I do really
I'm never
like
rooting for
the
Saw
character.
Gerrera, I'll be honest. I don't think there's ever a moment
I
I'm rooting for Saw Gerrera. And all of Star
then
Wars.
to that I say
You're like
lies.
Even
Deception.
in Clone Wars, I'm not rooting for Saw. He's a jerk. I like Steela. Like that's who I want to succeed. And
Sometimes you have to work with the jerks to defeat the separatists.
but they defeated the Separatists because of Steela, not because of Saw.
They needed Saw. They needed everyone in that troop.
You could have done without him, honestly. If
I don't
anything,
think they could have.
he hindered them from reaching their goal due to him causing some level of dissent amongst the group, causing some discord at times, and
Well, that
not
could be put on
necessarily
Lux
conceding.
Bonteri as well. He could have handled him better.
Like Lux could have handled himself better.
Yes, and he could have also been a bigger person handling Saul. I mean, it's not
Okay,
just a
like
one-way street.
What's
okay,
great
I'm not
about
saying it's a one-way street. We're talking about Lux Bonteri here versus Saw Gerrera. Like who has the more intimidating presence? Who has the more gravitas as a person in the room that people are gravitating towards? Like Lux is, the political figure. Saw is then contradicting him. He's contradicting his sister. He's causing problems here, and ultimately he, goes on, this crazy rampage. Like no, I can't think of a single decision that
I don't think
Saw's
Saul
ever
was that
made.
bad before Steela died. I think he was certainly rambunctious. Wasn't easy to get along with, but before Steela dies, I think he's able to
Annoying
be
as hell,
worked with.
yeah. Easy to work with.
Able to be worked with. It's not
He was,
easy.
yes, yeah, able to be worked with because of Steela. Like, because we know, like, the moment that Steela's gone, so is Saul. Like, he's on a one-man mission. And before we
crusade.
say, after his, oh, his sister did die, yeah, whatever, I'm like, congratulations. Like, there are so many people in Star Wars that dealt with trauma that did not just go fully insane afterwards. Okay, like I can have empathy without necessarily saying that not condemning him, relieving him of all of his sins, I guess. But like anyway, but that's Saw Gerrera for you. I can't wait to read more of him here next year when I get
Me
what is
too.
what's it called? What's the next mask?
Edge of the Abyss.
Yeah, can't wait for more. Yeah, Edge of the Abyss. He's in
By
the
Rebecca
abyss. Like, he's
Roanhorse.
not on the edge.
You better watch what you
He's
say.
fully in the abyss.
He's gonna send Borg Gullet after you.
Yeah. Oh
Bring
my
up
gosh.
Boogaloo.
I actually have I have a good friend that's he's a teacher, but on the side he works with a publishing company, and one of his clients is Rebecca Roanhorse for this book, actually the Star
Whoa.
Wars book. So he's like, he's actually been working with her on like this book in some capacity, which
That's
is kind of
really,
cool.
really cool.
Because we were talking about Star Wars, he's like, this was like a few months ago. He's like, yeah, Rebecca Roanhorse, and she's got the Star Wars book, and I'm actually blanking on the name. I'm thinking, Reign of the Empire? I'm like thinking like, are we talking about that? But no, it's fine. Tom, you got anything else?
I think I've said my piece.
Luke, I very much appreciate you taking the time to bring up a point of uh, contrarian arguments to something
I
I
feel like
put
I don't
on
do
the
that
top.
enough, so I just wanted to
I
give. I
appreciate
just
that.
wanted to go back and forth with you, honestly.
No, I appreciate that. That's good. I will say that before we get out of here, this is not Star Wars related, but I did want to vocalize this to whoever's out there, is that I've had a very, at times, just intense school year this year, adjusting to a new role and the grad school, and moving. All of this kind of things have been happening. Much tighter budgets with my rent. I'm paying like, I don't know if I told you, I'm paying like almost $300 more a month now.
Oh,
And
geez.
everything, and like just a lot of things. Today, it's a good day, and sometimes you need those good days. Like this week, I've had 6 former students from my last year's class, which was maybe my favorite class I've ever taught in general. It was a very unique group where we're coming into a brand new school being built, and these kids, a lot of them didn't want to be there. They wanted to be at their old schools, and they were some of them were like, a lot of them were forced there. And I felt like it was like fun to be able to be their teacher and get them bought into a new place. But I've had 6 former students just this week go to the school to say hi after they got out of high school, just to come over and say hi because they wanted to see me. And I had a few email me checking in, like asking things. And then I had one that I went to our middle school soccer game on the road to another school. And apparently that kid lives nearby, like that area, or has something over there. He went to that game, and I saw him, and he was like, I came today just because I thought you might show up, because you usually go to like the sporting events. And there's a few of these things have happened this week, and some good moments at school that have reminded me that what we do is worth it, and that whatever profession you have, whatever you do in life in general, like there are impacts that you are making on people around you through your actions and your care and your intentionality that you probably have no idea are making a difference. So if others, for the few people that listen to us, out there, if you're having a bad day, or you're having a difficult time of transition, or you're just a little stressed, just remember, be intentional with people around you. Goes a long way, and you'll see dividends on that in the future. That's been something I've kind of been meditating on for the last couple of days, which has been fun. And with that being said, cannot wait for the weekend to get me out of there for a couple of days, just for fun. It's football time. It's football time now. Like, come on, like we gotta enjoy the football season here. But anyway, hopefully Luke, we got to talk soon to get back on our timeline show grind now that
I'm
you
ready
are
to do it,
back.
man.
It's been a while. Got some comics to read. Maybe we can get on that over the next couple of days, and then Tom and I are going to connect eventually and get going on this. Our schedules have been so different. We got a couple fun ideas in the works. Hopefully we'll be able to watch some Lego Star Wars this weekend. Watch Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, whatever it's called, Part 2. Building the pieces, putting the pieces back together, some sort of bullcrap like that. And we'll watch Darth Solitus or whatever his name is. And
you nailed it. You did.
I did. Okay.
Yeah.
I called him Darth Sanctimonious the other day, and I was like, I said, actually, I think that's the petty nickname the president has for my governor. Which
that's right.
I love it when they beef, because I hate both of them, so it's fine. And then so anyway, all of that's going on, and let's see, we'll give our wish list for the end of the year. That sounds like a good plan to me.
Awesome.
Hopefully it does for you guys.
Great plan.
All right.
Great talking with you guys.
For Light and Light, remember everyone, that for now we are all the Republic.